If you're a fan of interior design blogs and videos, you've probably seen Monsteras all over. They are one of the most popular houseplants, and they lend your house a really beautiful tropical vibe. I actually purchased a large Monstera, and in this video I'm going to be walking you through all of the steps that I had to take in order to get it set up, the various products that I bought to get it set up, and the accessories I also ended up buying in order to maintain this plant. I'll be walking through all the steps that I use to maintain the plant, to keep it in decent health, and also the lessons that I've learned over time, and things that I wish I had known back when I was just starting, before I had bought any of this stuff. So keep watching to see my whole process. I'll start out with the plant itself. So I bought this Monstera deliciosa from a store called houseplants.com. I bought the full-size version, which was about like 4 to 5 feet, they estimate, when they're selling it to you. And so I think what that means is that from bottom to top, it's going to be like about 4 feet. Does look smaller than that right now, come to look at it. But anyway, it was $215, and they, at Houseplants, will sell different sizes of Monsteras. I wanted, I think, the biggest size that they offer because I just wanted a nice full plant, and I was of the mindset that bigger is better. And that's actually one of the very first things that I'd like to share that I wish I had done differently. I think it actually would have been better had I gotten a few Monsteras and a few smaller Monsteras. That way I could just plant them at different places in my room instead of having this one large sprawling plant. But you can be the decision maker on that. Like if this is the look you want and you want this full sprawling jungle-like plant, then by all means, you know, get the big one, and this is what it looks like. Next, I got a brass metal planter from CB2. They offer this planter in 2 different sizes. One is about 12 inches in diameter. This one is 18 inches in diameter. So I got the large size, and that is also something where I think, like, if I had done it again, like I said, I would have gotten multiple smaller plants. I think that overall could have looked better in my room than just having one big one. But that's the large size one. And speaking of all my regrets and mistakes, they're all up front, by the way. I wish that I had taken the approach of getting everything inside this decorative pot instead of the approach that I took, which is to transform this decorative pot into a functional pot. So with pots and planters, what you have to know is that there's 2 different kinds, right? One is decorative, and what you do with a decorative pot is you put inside it your saucer, your rocks, your planter, like a plastic planter from like your nursery planter from the plant store, and you put all that inside the pot, and then it looks seamless. Like it'll just be your pot and then the floor, because all of this functional stuff is inside the pot. So that's a decorative pot, and that's what this was designed to be. The other route you can go is you can get a pot with a hole in it. So that's a functional pot. When you have a functional pot, what you need to do is you need to get a saucer that you can put underneath the pot so that any excess water can drain out onto the saucer. And that's crucial because plants do not like sitting water that gets bacteria and just gets gross, right? Like plants like water to pass through it. And then the other thing you'll want to get is you'll want to get some kind of rock to put on top of that saucer so that basically it kind of holds the plant up, right? It kind of keeps the plant floating on these rocks so that the excess water can fall out. And then the rocks can also help absorb that excess water. So basically I went the route of turning this into a functional pot. And to do that, I actually had to pay someone at a tile store, I think it was $50 or $75, to drill a large hole in the bottom of this pot so that the water could drain out and could drain into my saucer. And my logic at the time was, I just was thinking bigger is better. And I wanted, you know, to be able to fill this entire pot with dirt and have the roots be able to grow bigger so that my plant could grow bigger. And yeah, just looking back, I think it probably would have been better had I thought about the initial intent of CB2 and had I known that this probably is meant to be a decorative pot and understood that distinction around the way pots are designed. But anyway, I did not. So this is what I did. I drilled a hole in it. I think, like I said, that cost $50 to $75 at a tile store. You can go and you can ask a tile store because they will have the drill bit to drill a hole in a decorative pot if you want to take this approach. I got this saucer. It is a Euphona ceramic plant saucer, and it has this nice matte finish. And then I filled it with lava rocks. You can get a large bag of lava rocks on Amazon for about $10. And then you can use that if you want to use it for drainage. I would just recommend keeping your lava rocks inside a garage or someplace where you wouldn't be terribly upset if there were gnats or something like that. So just be mindful of that and store these kinds of things inside a place that's sort of away from your other stuff. We actually kept it in a bathroom since we don't have a garage, but we did keep it in a bathroom that was isolated from the rest of our stuff. And then I also am using an acacia wood rolling caddy. That's what you see here. I feel like if I invited an interior designer into this place, they would probably find this like nightmarishly offensive, the idea of just having this wood caddy underneath the plant. But there's a lot of functionality that you get with a caddy. Number one, you can just roll it around. So when you want to vacuum behind here, you just roll it. When you want to turn the plant around so that like the leaves over here can get more sunlight, you can turn it. And it is recommended to turn your plants periodically so that they can all get sunlight in different directions and they don't start all growing in one direction. Also, if you want to try moving the plant around different parts of your house to see where it thrives or where you like it, the caddy is helpful. So I think those are 3 good reasons to have a caddy. The only question is, does it look aesthetically bad? And I guess that's something for you to decide. That would have been an advantage of getting smaller pots though. If I had gotten a smaller pot and I had gone the decorative route, then all I'd have to do is move this pot around. It was very hard to try and move this saucer and this pot, if you can imagine, like trying to lift that and move it and not spill these lava rocks. That was the nightmare that I was trying to prevent with getting this caddy. So we're about halfway done. Now in this next part, I'm going to walk you through how I got this Monstera set up. There's a few things that you will need. I went to Home Depot and I bought some Miracle-Gro Tropical Potting Mix, which is what ChatGPT recommended. Because the plant that I got, I think it came in a nursery pot that was about this big, right? So I had all this extra space inside my new 18-inch wide vase or pot here. I also got Miracle-Gro Perlite, which is sort of like this little white rock, and it's very good for drainage. And I had asked ChatGPT, how should I go about potting this? And I told ChatGPT the size of my overall pot and the size of the nursery pot, and it recommended those 2 mixes, the tropical potting mix and the perlite. And I think it said to mix it into 50-50 or something like that. ChatGPT might have also suggested putting pure perlite on the bottom. I forget what the exact instructions were, but just go ask ChatGPT like the best way to pot your particular plant inside your particular pot and tell it the plant species, obviously, and it'll give you some great specific advice that you can follow. Probably it's going to recommend those 2 products. And by the way, I purchased Miracle-Gro just because it was the main product that Home Depot was featuring. That's just what they display to people to get. I think one advantage too of the Miracle-Gro is that it is already decontaminated, so you're not going to get weird bugs and worms and stuff inside your house. As you can see here, I have a moss pole, and this is very important for this type of plant because Monsteras basically just flop and then they grow everywhere. Like when I first unpackaged this, the leaves just flopped out all over my room, and it was like, my God, 6 feet of diameter of Monstera plant. So what you really need to do if you want your Monstera to have any kind of vertical height is you need to get a moss pole. You could also try a bamboo pole or something else if you prefer. And then I also got these little pieces of, what are they called? Tree ties, basically. They are, I think, organic, biodegradable pieces of cloth that you could tie onto your moss pole. And in reality, you don't really need anything too special here. Like, you could have used something else. I got these ones because they're stretchy, right? So they're not going to start tearing into this. They kind of gently hold it up and distribute the weight. And you can also experiment with tying these on in different ways. So if you don't love how you did it the first time, you know, a few weeks from then, you can go ahead and try retying it. You might like how you tie it up better another time, because there's so many different things like you could play with. Like, I could try tightening this if I want to try and get it more vertical. On the other hand, sometimes you want it a little bit looser so that the plant can kind of grow organically its own way. So those are easy to mess around with. And now I'm going to start walking you through the accessories. First accessory I have is I have a little blue mat glass bulb inside here. And the purpose of the blue mat is just to make sure that the plant is never completely without water. If it needs water, some of that water can actually soak into the soil. My guy, my pave plant person, I think he's the owner of that store. When I talked to him about plant care, he told me, like, you don't really need those. He told me just water the plant once every 3 weeks, water it thoroughly, then let it dry. Then water it thoroughly, then let it dry. Just do that every 3 weeks. So you really don't probably need that, but it's something that I had read about and I had wanted to try, and I think it's been working fine. Next thing you'll really need is a watering can. So this is a simple watering can from Amazon, 1,000 milliliters. For this plant, you're going to want to fill it with 2,000 milliliters every 3 weeks. And then you can also test going a little bit beyond that. Every plant is going to be different, by the way, based on the type of vase you have, based on the species of plant you have. So the best way to figure out the exact amount of water that you need is just the first time to water it in like smaller increments and just keep a note. And so what I did is I think I dumped 1,000 milliliters in, and then I checked to see if it flooded. Then I dumped another 1,000 milliliters in, and then I checked to see if it flooded. And then I just went in like 200 milliliter increments up until I started seeing water coming through into this saucer. And then when I saw water coming through, I knew that I had watered this thoroughly, right? So that's how to figure that out. Just make sure that you do it in small enough increments that you don't get a ton of water just flooding onto your carpet, obviously. I also have a spray bottle, and I use this just to spray down the leaves, because you don't want dirt and dust accumulating on your leaves. It will interfere with the plant's photosynthesis. And so if you want the plant to be its healthiest, you should spray it down periodically. And I think you could probably just spray it down every time that you water it, so once every 3 weeks. And that's been working okay for me. I have these plant shears. Plant shears are useful so that when you do get a leaf that isn't doing so well, you can actually cut it off at a precise place. And I would cut it off right where the stem meets the larger stem. So these are more useful than scissors if you just want to get a very precise, clean cut. And of course, you can use these on all your plants ever. So I think they're a useful investment. This vase, I brought it out here because I did use it in the course of growing this plant. I shouldn't have needed it, but I did. Basically what happened is a part of this plant fell off when I was repotting it. And I just asked ChatGPT what to do about that. And ChatGPT actually said, well, get a vase, fill it with water, put the part that fell off, the stems that fell off, in the water, and every week change the water for 6 weeks. And after 6 weeks, a ton of roots had grown from those stems. And then all I had to do was move that into here. I covered this floor with some old Trader Joe bags, you know, and then I kind of added the new roots in right here, and then I added some extra soil around there. And I think it's been doing fine. So if you do ever lose a stem, it is useful to have some kind of vase that you can put it in. And just know that if some of this ever falls off, you literally can grow new roots from the stems that fell off, so you don't need to throw those away. Over here I have a hygrometer. Hygrometer shows the temperature, but it more importantly shows the humidity in the room where you are. So right now I have 42% humidity. That is not optimal humidity for this plant. This plant would ideally live in 60% to 70% humidity. It can tolerate down to 40%. And what I really need to do is I need to hook up my humidifier again for this plant to start doing better. And you can already see how this plant's like it's not living its best life at the moment. When I had this in a room with a humidifier, I did not have leaves that were turning yellow like this. So that's a mistake that I'm already making, and I ought to course correct that. But anyway, you probably want to target 55% humidity, or if you want to be conservative, 50% humidity. And the reason for that is that carpet and wood should never go over 60% humidity, or you risk getting mold. Right? And so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I don't want to come close to 60. I want to do 55%, or even 50% is good enough. And that sort of balances the plant's needs with the functional needs of your materials in your home, right? So it's good to actually keep a humidifier on near this plant if you want it to do well. You can see the effects of keeping this at 40% humidity. And that's what this is useful for monitoring. Now this last accessory here is the Govee Life Smart Humidifier. I actually am not a big fan of this one. I actually bought a second humidifier and I'm using it in my other room. It is called the Drio humidifier. And it can actually show you the humidity accurately, because I've tested it. On the humidifier, and then the humidifier can also target that specific humidity that you want to achieve. Whereas with this Govee Life humidifier, all it can do is be on low or high. And that explains why I've been kind of nervous to turn it on in this room, because I don't want to get a bunch of humidity in one area of my carpet and not know exactly what's going on. The other issue with this humidifier is it doesn't distribute the mist as evenly as my other humidifier. So I'm kind of nervous about using it in this room, but I probably can set it up. The important thing with the humidifier is that you want to have it at least 3 feet above the ground. So as long as you have it 3 feet above the ground, it has a chance to disperse the humidity before it reaches the carpet. But like I mentioned, this isn't my favorite humidifier. I'll show you in another video the Drio humidifier, which I just found is so much better. This one I think is only $30 to $40. The Drio is $60 to $70. Anyway, but you do want a humidifier with this plant, or else you're gonna get this. And by the way, in the winter, a humidifier is absolutely essential, because in most places in the winter, you're gonna get down to humidity levels of 20 or 30%, which is just not acceptable at all for this plant. So I think that's it. Vase, watering can, spray bottle, shears. I showed you the blue mat, hygrometer. Okay, there's 2 other things that I forgot to mention to you. One is a syringe. You know how I was telling you that when you're watering this thing, you want to be careful, because you might get some water coming out here. And that's the purpose of having the saucer. But if you see water filling the saucer up, you need to be able to get it out fast. Now, one option is to use like any kind of cloth towel or something, anything that's cloth, to just soak up the excess water. I found that to be very inefficient, and that's why I went to Amazon one day and bought a syringe for $5 to $10. That way you can just suck up any excess water and spit it out in your sink. It's a lot more efficient. And then the other thing I bought is a Philips Hue Go light, and it sounds like an ad for that light since it's so random, but it is useful, I think, in just creating the overall aesthetic that you want with a plant. If you look inside resorts or like high-end shopping centers, they will often have lights shining up onto their plants. And the reason is it looks really cool. It creates cool shadows on the wall. It creates a neat ambiance. And it's probably part of what makes you think like that plant would look really cool in my home, right? So I think it's important to get the lighting right on your plant. So I just bought a Philips Hue Go light and I have it behind it. You probably can't see it right now because it's not dark out, but it does look cool. And Philips also makes some lights that are designed for foliage and trees and plants. It's called the Philips Hue Lily. I haven't bought those yet, but I am intrigued to buy them and test them in a future video. So if this video was helpful to you, please like and subscribe, and check out my next video for advice on humidifiers. I'll be walking you through the differences between this Govee humidifier and that Drio humidifier. That video is not live yet, but someday it will be. So in the future, just click right up here and go watch that video. Thanks.